Hey, what's going on everyone? JS Cards here coming at you with a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile, and today we're going to be going over my DDD deck. This deck is really crazy. I am nowhere near a master of this deck yet, but I have been trying to learn all of the different combos and a lot of the bread and butter pieces. This deck has a lot of variations and there's different avenues you can go with the combos, and it just kind of depends on what the game state is, which is why I really like this deck. It's a little complicated. This is probably one of the hardest decks I've played, but I think once you play test for a while and you start to learn what all the different combos are and you start seeing them more, you guys will get the hang of it. So I've really been liking this deck. Big shout out to a whole list of videos and creators that I watched though. Of course, Jacked Yu-Gi-Oh! He's like the DDD king on YouTube, I think. He knows this deck inside and out. I got a lot of insight from him. Pack, of course, has been doing really well with this deck recently. And Zephyr Wargames had some awesome deck profiles and test hand videos that really helped. It's also interesting right now because Rage King Zero is not in Europe. It's not available until Ghost of the Past 2. So the builds are a little bit different depending on what type of deck profile you're watching, but soon Europe will have access to Rage King Zero, which will be really nice. One last thing before we get started, I actually made a Google Doc. I can post it down in the comments or in the description below, and it has not all of them, but a lot of different combos and situations that come up with this deck. There's a lot of 1, 2, and 3 card combos. On top of that, we do play a variety of hand traps, so there's a good percentage of time where you'll have your 2 or 3 card combos and then you'll have like 1 or 2 hand traps in your hand after all that is said and done, and then your board is nuts after that. You have like a Barone out, or you have all of your different DDD extra deck monsters out. It's crazy what this deck can do. So I will post that down below because I, for one, needed to like read it all out instead of just keep watching videos. And then as I was doing test hands and playing against other people, I started to see those combos and try to memorize those combos. Obviously, it can vary depending on what you're playing against or what's happening in the game, but overall, it really helped me out. So hopefully that helps you guys out as well. But now, enough talking, let's just jump into the deck profile. Okay, we play a lot of monsters. So basically starting off with 3 copies of Kepler, 3 copies of Copernicus. These are great starters you want to see. And 3 copies of Griffin, one of the newer cards. This card is insane. There's lots of different 2-card combos if you have like a Griffin and a Kepler, or a Copernicus and a Griffin. After that, I play double Orthros. This is definitely one of the cards you want in your scale most of the time. And there's even a 2-card combo with Griffin and Orthros you can do. For the Pendulum one-ofs, we have Ragnarok. This is like the other one you put in the scale most of the time. Thomas is really good. Then the one Rage King. Soon this will be in Ghost of the Past 2, so if you don't have it, you'll be able to easily get it. And then one Cerberus. I do play one more Pendulum in the deck. It is not a DDD monster, but it basically should be. This is Archfiend Eccentric. This is because I'm playing Small World in the deck, and this card is a great bridge. Using Small World, you can search out a variety of different things. But yeah, I can go over that once we get to the spells and I go to Small World, but yeah, this card is really good in this deck. And then we play 3 copies of Swirl Slime, 1 Necro Slime, you only really need 1, and the Lamia. Lastly, I play the 1 Typhon as well. These are all just great one-ofs. I mean, you can easily dump Slime into the grave because of Copernicus. If your Necro Slime's already in the grave, you could go for Typhon. Lamia is kind of a nice replacement for Necro Slime if you need to. So yeah, very solid DDD lineup in my opinion. I think it's pretty standard. Let's move on to the hand traps. For the hand traps, 3 copies of Ash Blossom. It's Ash Blossom. I mean, still really good. Definitely worth playing 3 of. 3 copies of Ghost Ogre. And 3 copies of Nibiru. I did have Effect Veilers in here on top of all of these, but that was making it a 44 card deck, and I wanted to see my consistency pieces a little bit more, see my starters a little bit more. On top of that, you're still looking pretty good in terms of opening up one of these hand traps, or maybe even two of them. So I felt like I could cut the effect veilers. I thought about playing impermanence over the effect veilers, but still I felt like I should slim down on the card count instead. Depending on the meta and what happens, it might be worth playing even more hand traps, and then you could like side in or maybe even main deck cross out, but there's limited space and there were other cards I wanted to play, so I felt like these 9 hand traps were enough for now. But if you don't play Small World and you cut the Eccentric and the 3 copies of Small World out, then you could play more hand traps. But these hand traps are actually really good for Small World, and a big part of why I play Small World in here as well. So let's jump into that. Alright, so for the spells, let's just start off with the 3 Small World. Big shout out to Team Sakurasu for finding 3 of these and hooking me up with them, much appreciated. And yeah, Small World is insane. So this is why I played the Eccentric and those hand traps. So first of all, if you have any DD monster in your hand, you can reveal it with Small World and then search Eccentric, and then from there you can search any DD from your deck, because Eccentric only shares being a fiend type with that DD. So this helps you get into one of your starters. If you just happen to have a DD monster, but it's not the one you need, you can just search for whatever you need at that moment. So the other thing is, if Eccentric is in your hand, you can reveal it and then send one of your Ash Blossoms from the deck. They're both level 3s. And then Ash Blossom will let you add any DD from deck that has 0 attack, since they both have 0 attack. So that could be your Kepler, your Copernicus, I guess even your Rage King if you need them. And then let's say you are playing Effect Veiler, so you can reveal Effect Veiler off of Small World, and then go into Eccentric. They only share being a light, and then you can add any of your DDs from the deck. Like, it's crazy what you can search. Some people even play Phantasme in here instead of the Eccentric, or maybe they play both Eccentric and Phantasme. So if Phantasme is in your hand, you can reveal it and then go into Ghost Ogre from the deck. They share the same defense, and then you can add Kepler or Copernicus. If you have Nib in hand, you can reveal Ghost Ogre from your deck. They're both lights, and then you can search out Kepler or Copernicus. So yeah, being able to use Small World and your hand traps and the Eccentric to search out your combo pieces is actually pretty cool. I have really been liking it. Small World is an insane card. It's good in a lot of different decks if you know what pieces you need to put in there. And because of all this searching, I cut that spell card, the Puri map, where basically you pay half your life points to search out. It's basically like any of your DDDs. But yeah, I cut that card because, well, half your life points is a lot to pay on top of like you're paying 1,000 off of like your Gilgamesh and then your other DD spells. And with Small World, you can search out for anything that you need. So I felt like I could cut that card, save my life points, and still be consistent. So yeah, but for the rest of the spells, we have 3 copies of Dark Contract with the Gate, the 1 Swamp King, and the 1 Patent License. And for the last spell, 1 for 1. And the only trap card that I play in the deck is the DD Headhunt. It's searchable with Griffins, so you don't really need to play multiples of these. Like I said, you could play Impermanence or Veiler if you wanted to, but that's it for the main deck. It's 41 cards. Let's move on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, 3 copies of Gilgamesh. You definitely need 3. There's combos where you go into 3. You're for sure going to be going into 2 most of the time, but yeah, there's a couple times where you'll need a 3rd one, or you just want a 3rd one to follow up like on your next turn. For the Exceeds, 2 copies of Deus Machina. I think that's how you say his name. This card's insane. This is one of the newer cards along with Griffin, and yeah, he can suck up your opponent's monsters. He's got 3,000 attack. This card's nuts. After that, we have the Wave King Caesar, along with the Marksman King Tell, and the High King Caesar. All of these are needed for the various combos, so here they are. And then lastly, for the Exceeds, 1 Zeus. Gilgamesh locks you into special summoning only DDD monsters once you use him, so you can make Zeus beforehand if you need to, but it's still there because it's a nice option and it does come up. For the synchros, we have the 1 Siegfried and the 1 Barone. Barone's just got a different sleeve on because she was in a different deck and I didn't switch it out, so it is what it is. But yeah, these cards are really good. Barone you can make before you start going into your main DDD plays with like Griffin and Swirl Slime. And usually Barone is coming out on the 4th or 5th summons, so it can stop Nibiru, which is really good. And then for the fusions, we have the 2 Flame King Genghis, the 1 High King Genghis, and the 1 Dark. Overall, a very standard DDD extra deck in my opinion. You could cut the Barone if you don't have her for anything else, any other DDD monster. There's actually some really cool DDD monsters that I wouldn't mind trying to test out. They have other fusions and other, like there's the Pendulum Synchro. I don't know, there's just some cool extra deck monsters that are not included in here that are in the DDD archetype, so you could easily replace Barone with something else like that if you want to. And then lastly, we have the side deck. This is subject to change, of course, and it depends on like your local meta, but this has been working out so far. I play 3 copies of Lancia, 3 copies of Token Collector, and Double Droll. After that, I got 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. And then for some back row hate, I have the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. And then in every side deck, I like to play Red Reboot because it's an awesome one of. And then I have a couple more Dark Contract cards in this side deck. So we have Dark Contract with Errors and Eternal Darkness. Dark Contract with Errors turns off trap cards, and Eternal Darkness protects the 2 monsters in your pendulum zones from your opponent's spells. So there you guys have it. That is my DDD deck profile. Let me know what you guys think. I'm still learning this deck. I still misplay with it a lot, I'm not gonna lie, but it's definitely getting easier and more fun to play as I learn it a little bit better. This is a deck I've been wanting to learn for a while, especially after seeing some people doing so well with it recently in the new support. I thought, why not actually sit down and learn this deck and try to at least be decent with it. I'm not looking to win a championship with this or anything crazy like that, but just to know how the deck works a little bit more, how to play it well, I guess. And it helps to know this deck if you're going to be playing against it too. You're going to know what their combos are and when to hand trap properly and things like that. So that's the other reason too, because this deck has been seeing a little more play and popularity lately. It's always good to know how to counter it, or at least be familiar with what the cards do, because there's a lot of them and the text on some of these cards is like 3 paragraphs long. It's nuts. You can check out the Google Doc in the description or in the comments. It'll be somewhere, so you guys can read the combos and learn how they all work. And also big shout out to the creators I mentioned in the beginning of this video: Pack, Jacked Yu-Gi-Oh!, Zephyr War Games. I'm sure there's other videos and people that I watched, but those are the 3 big ones that helped me learn this deck and figure out how I want to go about building it. So yeah, shout out to all of them. Go check them out, show them some love, and stay tuned for more Yu-Gi-Oh! News, deck profiles, anything Yu-Gi-Oh! Related. I like to make videos and talk about it, just kind of whatever I'm interested in or what's happening in the game overall. So yeah, if you enjoy that type of stuff, check out my channel. Hit that subscribe and like button, much appreciated as always. And until next time, everyone, take care, peace out, and have a good one.